everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are very, very excited to have Stephen Isaacs, who's from Epic Games, and he is the education lead for Unreal. And I butchered your title. I'm so sorry, Stephen. But Stephen is a core partner as we've been building out a lot of our programming. So we're very, very excited to have this be a part of the Brick Summit this year. And with no further ado, Mr. Stephen, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Nicole?
I am good, and we are in it. This has been a great event so far, so thank you.
I bet. Sure. I wish, of course, I wish I could be. Is it in person as well, or today's all virtual?
Today is all virtual,
All right,
yesterday in
perfect.
person. So hopefully next
Gotcha.
year, we'll see. Yeah.
Next year. Cool. Well, great to be here with everybody. I am going to share my screen. A couple things I want to share as we go. Of course, now the thing I want to share. Let's see here. Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay. I'm really talking more about Unreal today than overall interactive 3D in the classroom. But I did throw a QR code up there if you're able and can just complete that. It's a very short form, just asking for a little bit of information. One of the things we like to do is send information out with resources and such after these sessions, and I'll be happy to do that for anybody who fills out that QR code, that form. And I'll bring that back up, at the end as well. But my name's Steve Isaacs. I am the education program manager. Nicole was very close at Epic Games, with a primary focus on secondary education and working primarily with educators in supporting them to bring our tools into the classroom. So that involves Unreal Engine, Twinmotion, Fortnite Creative. Something now we have a few tools that work with photogrammetry like Reality Scan and Capturing Reality. Sketchfab is another tool of ours. So we have a lot sort of in our portfolio. So it's been really exciting for me. I was a classroom teacher for 28 years, so I'm just kind of out of the classroom for 2 years now. I retired from teaching when the opportunity at Epic came up, and it's really an extension, I think, of what I was doing in the classroom, because in the classroom I was teaching game design, and my real approach was kind of giving students choice in terms of what tools they used. I would teach the process, and I wanted to empower them to learn the tools they might want to learn. And one of the things I found was that when I was using tools like Minecraft or Fortnite Creative, kids certainly brought their expertise with them, and they kind of taught me more than I could teach them. And which was awesome. I mean, it became a very different whole approach to teaching and learning. I was able to sort of become a co-learner in the classroom with my students. I was able to truly support and guide them and create opportunities for them, and empower them. But then with tools like Unreal Engine or Unity, which a lot of my students wanted to use, I started to find that we ran into some challenges in that, because I wasn't an expert and I wasn't teaching directly, how to use these tools, we ran into, a challenge when it came to kids learning on their own. And I did have some students who did amazing things with these tools and actually learned how to use them, and took to the natural way of learning that I've grown to really appreciate, which is, how kids learn in informal spaces with, videos and tutorials and such. But I felt like there was more we could, it was still kind of hard for that onboarding piece. So when I started doing some contract work with Epic, I was writing lesson plans and developing some resources that help sort of with that onboarding process of making it easier for teachers and students to use our tools. That's some of what you'll see today that I think has come out of that. And it's, allowed us to continue to move forward in truly trying to support teachers with that sort of mindset that they don't have to be an expert. We can help them with resources that can help them and their students get started. And once students get comfortable in these tools, that's when they kind of really can take the learning into their own hands. So, if you're not so familiar with Epic, there are kind of two sides to the company. We publish games. A few of you might have heard of Fortnite out there. Also, Rocket League Guitar Hero, the company Harmonix is under us now, and we've been doing things with them, Fall Guys, and a whole lot of other games that we publish. But that's really only a part of the company. The licensing side is what's been around for probably, I guess, 30 years. And we have our primary tool, Unreal Engine, which is licensed for creating games, but also creating experiences or things that are not games. So it's this powerful tool, Unreal Engine, that originally was effectively a game engine for making AAA games. And that's what people mostly licensed it for then. At some point, we actually changed our licensing so there's no cost to license our software. Um, and you only have to go into a licensing agreement once you've made your first $1 million with a product that you've published. So what happened is, I think a lot of people from all these other industries, understood what was possible and sort of got their hands on this tool and started doing some pretty amazing things with it related to their industry. And as a response, we've started to see that, and now a lot of our development is informed by their work. So it's used widely in, a lot of different fields like film and entertainment, advertising, fashion, automotive, aerospace, like all these simulations and all these different areas. So now we're at a point where and especially from a educational standpoint, if we get kids to learn these skills, and sometimes if we can do that through something exciting like making games, we have an opportunity to really prepare them for careers. And that's where some of the great work we've been doing with the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Workforce Development Initiative and Brick Foundation comes in that you're probably familiar to some extent of the paid apprenticeship program, and Epic's been a part of that. And it's been exciting for me because we've been training a lot of the teachers that can work with students in high school. And then those students are building their portfolio using tools like Unreal Engine and then applying for paid apprenticeships as an alternate pathway to work, which has been amazing to be part of. So, a lot of our sort of ideas, kind of taking people on that pathway from player to creator. Um, Fortnite being as widely played as it is, as well as other games, really kind of allows us to understand, hey, kids are playing games. There are a lot of opportunities within these games, especially when you get into something like Fortnite Creative or some of the other similar games like Minecraft, Roblox, and such. We're talking about environments where kids are creating with this game technology. We also have a tool called Twin Motion, which for educators has been amazing. For those who even like many people have not heard of it, and when we train in it, it often becomes we call it our sleeper hit. It also often becomes the tool that teachers bring into the classroom first because it's easy to use for visualization. We've started to really promote it for digital storytelling across different curricular areas. Now that we've been doing a lot of work with photogrammetry, it's a great tool for scanning objects and bringing them in to digital spaces. And then, of course, there's Unreal Engine, and that's a true industry standard tool, like I said, that's being used widely. And we're having a hard time filling the jobs that are available for people with these skills. So exciting. I think it's really, for me again, as my role in the teacher, I was always focused on students as content creators. So having them have these experiences was really important. So focusing today on Unreal Engine, cover a couple of quick myths, then share some of the resources, and definitely show you a little bit of a demo so you can see what some of our resources are like, and also don't hesitate to ask questions. I'll definitely leave a little time at the end as well. But a lot of people are intimidated by Unreal Engine, thinking that you need to code to use Unreal Engine. Not true. I mean, certainly there's a lot of opportunity to code with Unreal Engine. I mean, a lot of like engineers and people, creating games and all sorts of different things are using coding, but there's also a huge space for world building, special effects, and all these other areas that don't necessarily require coding. The image here is Boulder, Colorado, and this was built out using just assets from a free marketplace pack. And, the person who built it basically just dragged and dropped and created this environment in Unreal Engine. So, and what I always loved too, again, when I was in the classroom, I was teaching game design, but I wasn't necessarily focusing on game programming. So in my class, because there's so many different areas in that industry as well as these other industries, I had kids really, you know, finding their passion within that. So I had kids that were, getting interested in animation or level building or narrative, storytelling and all these different things that, really truly contribute to a team. And then the other, kind of myth when we do get into at least what's possible with sort of coding, um, the myth that students need to know C++ to code in Unreal Engine. Some people compare C++ to other languages and might talk about how it might be a challenging language to learn initially and such, which probably is true. But we have a visual scripting language called Blueprints. And Blueprints is, as you can see here, it's node based. It's drag and drop. It's context sensitive. So when you're looking for something, you can start typing in the idea of what you're looking for, and then the information will show up. So this is just a simple example from the project that I'm going to show you, where there's a place in the project where you learn about variables and collect coins, and when you interact with a coin, or when you, I guess I should say, collide with a coin, the coin disappears. It adds 1 point to your score variable and such. And this is kind of showing that code. And then finally, and again, the reason I love giving this presentation is because I was this teacher. So we have the myth that you need to be an Unreal Engine expert to teach with Unreal Engine. Not true, in my opinion. This is Eric Elder, who knew that creating a boot camp for kids in an underserved area would be a real valuable experience. He was not necessarily an expert in Unreal Engine, but he was able to guide these students through these experiences. While I was still in the classroom, we came up with our hour of code activities, which I'll show you today. And those were designed specifically so that they have step-by-step guides. Students can go through those. Teacher could play a supporting role. And again, once the kids get kind of comfortable in that environment, that's when they start to really expand the learning on their own, which is what I think is super exciting. So, just to kind of speak to our team, our goal is to soften the learning curve, provide an easy onboarding experience, and we provide a variety of engaging resources and training and support for educators. So just want to make sure that's, everybody kind of understands where we're coming from. I feel like our mission is to cultivate the next generation of creators, so that's where we kind of sit. So one of the things we're going to kind of go over today in the form of a demo as well is some of our computer science lessons. So again, for the Hour of Code a couple of years ago, we created this resource called Build Your First 3D Game. And it basically took students through 5-hour-long lessons in, coding concepts and game design, and have them, by the end, kind of create a game that they're guided through step by step. And again, after those 5 lessons, the ideal situation is they then either go on to modify the existing game so that they start to really demonstrate their learning, or they create a new game from scratch. But each one of these, and I'll show you a little bit about how this looks. I think this will take me to the right place. And actually, I'm going to show you it in a different place, because we have a new developer community, and that's what this is here. And when I go over to my learning area, and I'll actually drop this in the chat. And yes, everything is available publicly. Everything that we offer here comes at no cost. And I know there are a few other longer questions that I will get to, but just want to kind of go through this stuff first. So when I go to this learning section, this is, we have an amazing amount of resources for learning. Again, back to sort of my experience originally, was that much of this is for industry professionals. So they're great tutorials if you kind of already know a reasonable amount about Unreal Engine. Our goal as our team was to kind of, go to that, kind of least common denominator and say, let's really start, from the beginning. So This is our for educators area. I will discuss some of these different things. Some are lesson plans that other teachers have created. This is our Getting Started with Unreal Engine Educators Edition, which is about a 5 video series by Dr. Chris Alexander, who's amazing, that just kind of helps you get started. Um, we have a podcast here if you're interested in hearing teacher stories of their using interactive 3D in the classroom, like real stories from educators that are doing this, and a whole lot of other stuff, including our Unreal Futures courses. But the Hour of Code Unreal Engine project is basically there are 5 different lessons. Each lesson covers a concept. This first one, and we'll go over this one a little today, is collision detection in Unreal Engine. So, students learn that concept. We have a beautiful asset pack that kids use to create these. And each one of these activities has a teacher facing lesson plan, which gets into everything you would want. I always say when I was a teacher and my supervisor would walk in to observe me, it was nice to have this on my desk. These are the learning outcomes, the essential questions, gets into the concepts that we're trying to teach and how we could support you in teaching them. And then they all get into, even an assessment rubric, as well as standards alignment. In this case, it's the CSTA standards. Many of our lessons also get into the ISTE standards. And then each one of these activities also has a full student guide that literally has step-by-step screenshots showing you how to go through this. Now, when we train teachers, we walk you through typically like maybe the first lesson as well, just to get you feeling comfortable with the process. But the way to do it would be to then go home as a teacher, go through the rest of the lessons, and then hopefully feel confident enough to say to your students, okay, we're going to go and do these. Now, you could teach some of the skills in front of the class. I mean, I like teaching about like the basic navigation and things in Unreal Engine. But what I do find, and one of the reasons I like the step-by-step guides, is that uh, you know when you're teaching in front of the room, especially something like this, you often find that like 30% of the kids, maybe stay with you and you're at the right pace. 30%, are kind of ready to go ahead and are a little bored even because they're, ahead of where you're at. And then the 40%, which is harder, is the group that's really struggling to to keep up. And that's the group that, is of most concern, because those are the ones that, often get frustrated or check out or decide they can't do it. So having these, resources to allow them to kind of work at their own pace. I often suggest having kids work together in pairs so they can kind of work together to go through that is really helpful. And then to go one step further, each one of these, this is the wrong lesson, but it doesn't matter. Each one of these has a video. The people who developed this program with us is from a group called Clever Lake Studios, and Brian Dickman and Ian Southwell are the two people who were most responsible for that, and they do an hour walkthrough guide for each one. So they literally walk you through the whole lesson. And I like that because when I'm learning, I'm more likely to watch them do the video. I'll stop and pause and rewind, but then that's just another way to support that learning, right? So I am going to take you into that project, but I do want to. So the lesson thing is the same link. Yeah, that is, but you know what? I'm going to give you this link here because I like the way we moved it into our developer hub because it has nice, easy to use links to everything. So I'm going to actually give you this link as well. Both of them are completely fine. This one has easier links to the videos and things too. There you go. And just want to look, I want to look real quick through the questions so I can kind of keep up with that. But the dang, this is so cool. I appreciate very much. I tend to agree. It was great that while I was still in the classroom, that's when I was contracting with Epic, and these were released, so I was able to actually offer these to my students. So it was neat to see them in that environment, and my hope is that the teachers that took over my game design classes are using them as well. And let's see. Da, 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 da. The lessons are available publicly. Let's see. How can someone start assisting in making video games when one has no experience in game engines at all? Feels too overwhelming to do models and stuff. How can you start finding that they like doing in a game, or find a team? So that's a great question. I hope that going through this activity gives you that support that you feel allows you to start working with kids in this area. Part of it, in my kind of humble opinion, is that we often don't give kids opportunities because we're sort of afraid, or intimidated ourselves. Um, I think there's, an argument for saying, let's give kids the opportunity and support them. But it is a great question. We also have a supportive community, our Unreal Educator Discord community, that can help as well. Um, and in this case, like, we've provided all of the resources, all of the assets in the project, in the project files. So as you'll see from my demo, it really gets to the heart of getting started with game design. So I hope that helps answer that, Carlos. It's definitely a great question. Oh yeah, and definitely the Minecraft Minecraft changed my life as an educator, without a doubt. And let's see here. I wish I could have done this at my high school. I actually, it's interesting. In my high school, and I always forget this when people ask me how I got into this. I'm a bit older, but when I was in high school and I took a basic computer science course, Mr. Beeson, my teacher, for our final project, allowed us to kind of design our own project, and I didn't realize the impact that had on me until, like, probably 30 years later. But I did choose to create a game in basic, and it was the best learning experience, and definitely one of those where I did far more work than I ever had on any other project because I was enjoying it, so much. Um, so so narrative design and writing in video games. So I mean, Unreal, and somebody else had asked about working on a team. What I taught my class, it was very much a team effort, and it happened pretty organically, where kids chose who they wanted to work with, and what their roles would be. In that case, like, a big part of creating a game is creating a design document, and that includes things like the narrative and such. So in my case, I would have the person who's interested in narrative storytelling focus possibly on that part. There's a lot to be said for using tools like Twinmotion or even Fortnite Creative to prototype some of those narrative ideas as well. But again, like, the student who's interested in narrative might use Unreal for to kind of get started and prototype, but that person might not be the one that's going to get totally ingrained in certain aspects of it, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to switch things up here a little bit, and I think I have to do a new share. And okay, and this is, I think, what I am trying to share. Hopefully do you see me spinning around here in this little room? Just somebody say yes in the chat, because I had two windows that looked like they could be. Okay, cool. So this is the environment for that game. Now, again, to kind of my point from before, I would often have students practice learning to navigate, and it's the kids are going to be so much better at this than us because they are used to playing games. But essentially, right now, just to tell you what I'm doing, I'm right clicking and dragging my mouse to look around the environment. Okay. And then I can also right click and hit W, A, S, and D to move around the environment. And again, I'm not in the play mode right now, so I'm just kind of being able to go through things and go all around this environment. Okay. I would, when you get started, you might even go to when this project starts out, you end up in a slightly different environment, and that could be a good place for that. And So here we go. So basically, what happens in this game is when I hit play, I'm dropped into the game, and I'm going to walk over to this, and oops, notice I fell down. So I did not that that platform did not have collision. So let's see. So what I have to realize is I now have to fix that, and that's kind of the first lesson in this game. And they go through that in that part that I was showing you originally. So I'm going to click on this platform. This is the platform, and what I want to kind of highlight is I'm going to show you what the students will do in the first lesson, and of course I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. But what you'll notice is all I'm going to really teach you is several things that kids would be doing in this first lesson, to show you how they're only learning a little bit, but then it's after that that they start to expand upon that a little. So when I click on this platform over here, hopefully you're seeing what I'm seeing. It says there's this thing called SM Platform 1. There are a few ways I can access this, but if I right click on it and go to Edit SM Platform 1, I'm going to do that, and now you're going to have to help me again because I'm hoping that. Are you seeing now just the big platform right here, or is that not showing up? You are. Ooh, great, because sometimes it wants to only show the one window or whatever. Okay, so this is now I'm in the environment where I'm literally just working with the platform, and the reason I'm doing this is because, as I mentioned, I have to add collision to this particular object. So here's this nifty collision option for this object. And you'll read in the thing, but I'm dealing with basically the 100 DPZ simplified collision. There are a bunch of different collisions. Okay, so here we go. So see how now it has this like green outline around it? Now, the cool thing about this is showing what the collision would be. It's also a simple collision. And as you could see, if you're really a perfectionist, the collision means what area I could be colliding with this, and it will notice that there's a collision or an impact from that. There are little places here where if I was standing on the very edge, it might seem a little deceiving, like, oh, wait, I shouldn't be stopped there because it looks like I should fall off. I could get much more precise, but when it comes to things like, computer memory and things, this is going to allow for a much simpler collision, that would take up less resources. And the reality is it's going to be seamless in the game. So I'm creating this as the collision. I'm going to save this. Now, if all goes well, when I go back into the game, I'm going to run over to this, and now I'm standing on that collision, on that object, okay? So first, great feeling for students is like, that feeling of success that they completed this. Well, now, again, if I walk on, I'm going to fall down. And interestingly, now I can't get up at all no matter what I do because I haven't accounted for that. So that brings up another issue that we'll get to in a minute. And now, though, the first thing that you're going to want kids to do is the goal is to get all the way across there, right? So now that I have this collision, this object has the collision as part of it. There are several ways I could do this, but the easiest way, or one of the easier ways to do this, is if you notice now what I have is this is my platform, and right here there are three different things I could deal with. There's the move gizmo, the rotate, or the scale here. I want to, with moving it, I can move it up and down on this axis. I can move it left and right, and I can move it side to side, okay? But what I can also do, which I really want to do, is I want to create more of these, and I want to make it through this hallway. So one way to do this, and you'll read about this in the guide, and there are several ways you can do this. If I hit Alt and keep it pressed, and now I click on one of these, I'm going to click on the up and back one. Now I can click and drag and make a second one of these platforms. Okay. And now I can, again, when you get comfortable navigating, I'm going to navigate around a little bit. I'm going to hit Alt again, create another one. I know I'm making it look easy. I've done this before. You'll struggle a little with this, but it's really, the concept is not hard. The getting comfortable with maneuvering around is the part that especially us adults find challenging. And then I'll do that again, and maybe one more time to make sure I make it all the way across. Hit Alt and whoops, and there. That's interesting. So now I because I wasn't in the right spot. If you noticed, I lifted that up higher, which again, and one of the things the kids might end up doing, which would be perfectly appropriate, is doing that intentionally later to have the player do like a parkour and have to go up or down or whatnot. Let's see if this will work because I might not make it across there now. So I'm going to hit play again. And there's one weird little glitch happening right now that for some reason right now I should be able to move left and right to look the different ways, and for whatever reason that's not working. So while it's going to look a little clunky, but um, you should be able to navigate that way better. And okay, so here we go. I fell down again. Now this is a problem because remember I have no way up. So that's going to take us to the second thing we want the kids to learn. Okay, and this is something my wife and I really like teaching about, because the thing that I'm going to teach you now is called oh, and I have to remember how to add it here. Let's see. Um, quickly add to the project. It's da, da, da. Let's see. I don't think it's going to be under basic shapes. I have to find this again. Let's see. Let's try actor. Might be under actor. Oh, that just added an actor. That's not what we wanted. All right, hang on one second. I think I need the window open. Oh, perfect. Okay. So what I wanted now, and this it'll tell you how to get to this in there, but there's something called a pain causing volume. And the reason I say that my wife and I love this is um, we've changed the name of this to the Layla, which is our youngest daughter, who is a pain causing volume. And I'm going to bring the pain causing volume, which I actually just brought here. And now this thing here, basically, although it's kind of invisible, if I were to go into this, it will kind of act as though I lost like a life, so to speak, or it'll return me back to the beginning of the game. So this one is a little interesting because what you have to do as you get to work with it is you have to actually, well, I'm going to put it down here. Okay. I'm going to go down here. And if you notice, there's that pain causing volume. And right now it's rather small. This is the first time that you'll learn how to scale something. So I'm going to bring it into kind of the middle because that's going to help me a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is, before I showed you, there was the move, the rotate, and the scale. If I go to the scale one now and I go here, I can make this bigger. And I want to make it go all the way to the end. Okay. And I also want to kind of make sure it goes to the side. So if you see what I'm doing, you can tell that what I did was I made that pain causing volume basically fill the whole bottom part here so that when you fall, you don't have that problem. Now, of course, later kids could get creative and decide, oh, instead of this pain causing volume, maybe I'll make it so I build like a staircase here that they can get out. Although that would be a dumb idea because that would get them out without having to pass the whole thing. But if you put one over here, it would let them get back up to the top a different way. So there are different ways to address something like that. So I'm going to go along again, and hopefully now when I fall through, oops, see that how it brought me back to the top? And hopefully I can make it all the way across. This is the part that let's see if I can make that jump. Oh, and he does, and boom. Okay, so now I end up here, and this gets us to the part where in the activity, the students would get to do kind of work a little on their own and build platforms to now take them across the way here. Okay, so now the next step for the kids would be to build another type of platform that they'll learn about, and they'll bring in, and this is all the kinds of things you can work with, and they'll bring in these, and I can even do the copying, the thing I just did before, where we use the Alt key and build more of these. So I can now make it so that the kids can now create a path that they can get to the next part. And this is a part they kind of do on their own based on what they learned. And some of them are going to want to make it more interesting where you have to jump, higher and around. some of them might make it that you have to go around a different way. And this is where they get a little opportunity to work kind of through on their own in this first lesson. So I'm going to end there with the lesson because I just kind of wanted to do a short demo about that, um, and go back to the slides. So let's see. This should get me there. Okay, so I should be back over here now. All right. So, again, so all of these lessons are there available for, for you and for your students. And, our intent is for that to be an easy approach to getting started. Also serves as a really great, like, if you're looking to do like an after school activity or a summer camp or something, these lessons, are so well designed to kind of, make that easy. And each one of these, get to a different thing. So the next one is they make platforms that move. So they learn something called the sequencer, which deals with animation. And then they have these moving platforms that you have to jump kind of like Frogger across, to get across. Then there's one where they learn about uh, variables and power-ups where they can jump higher. And so they get a little bit into blueprints so they can make some changes to that. And then they get to a point where they have to deal with a conditional statement that determines if you've found the key, then you can open the door to get into the final area. And finally, they get to work with widgets and the HUD or the heads-up display. So by the end, kids have created this game. Like I said, after that, I would have them each lesson do a little bit of modifying, because then they can practice what they did right away to do some cool stuff. So like I said, with something like the moving platforms, so some kids are going to get excited about the idea, ooh, instead of just having all my platforms move left and right, let me have some move up and down, and you have to jump according to that. Before you know it, they're going to do some really creative things. And then at the end, if time permits, it depends how you're using these lessons, but having kids then go back and use the whole kit, because all of these assets are available to potentially create a game, could be good. Cool. So let's see. So I just want to show you some of this is what we did. And I want to show you some of the other kind of projects and things that we have. We have a series called Unreal Futures, Careers in Real Time. And so far we have 3 courses in this series. One is called Unreal Futures, Careers in Advertising. And you should be able to, let's see if you can hear that. Are we getting sound? It's not what you know, it's what you're willing to learn. Game engines are the only tool that help you design for that future. When you're creating things on this platform, you're creating it for all the things. One asset to rule them all. In this project, we will explore how Unreal is being used in the advertising industry. In the rest of this series, we will explore step by step. Okay, sorry if that was low and choppy. But anyway, the idea here is in this first one, or all of these, kids learn about a certain industry, like in this case, advertising. And what they're learning is how this technology is being used in advertising. And it's really neat because the company that one of the companies that's that's interviewed and talks about it is called Media Monks, and they work with Oreo cookies. So the kids are learning about what that's like, and then the project they do, which is like 5 lessons, they learn to recreate this Oreo cookie advertisement. And what's so cool about that is, in my opinion, they're learning only a few little things about Unreal Engine. They're learning how to set up a scene, they're learning how to animate the camera, and they're learning how to animate an object using the sequencer. That's like enough to give kids a little bit of a taste of virtual production and advertising and all that. And it lends well to leading to another project. But again, it's not like we're getting overwhelmed by thinking they have to get into, all of, Unreal Engine. And that's what I think we try to show is that, again, like, one of my colleagues is funny. He says he knows Unreal Engine B to Z, meaning he doesn't know anything with an A, like animation, automation, automotive, and all those things. So, nobody's going to know everything about Unreal Engine, but there's, we can get some of this to the kids. And do you have a link to the careers page in the video? I'll give you the links to all those, in just a sec. They're also in that place that I showed you before. The careers in fashion course talks about how it's being used in the fashion industry. And the project the kids do in this one is they create a fashion shoot. And again, they're not doing a whole lot, but they're doing enough to feel pretty accomplished. And our most recent one, I'm not going to show the video. And our most recent one is Unreal Futures Careers in Animation, and that just came out. And in this one, kids are getting hands-on, experience with these two great characters in the corner here, Bit and Bot. And the person, Shazzy, she has an animated series that feature Bit and Bot, and she's the one that guides students through that activity. So again, it's 5 lessons. They learn about working with a rigged object, so they're actually animating based on the skeletal structure. They're learning about blend shapes with the facial expressions and things, and they're creating their own animations. And we have a program right now going on with Dell and a number of schools in North Carolina where they're going through this process, over 6 to 8 weeks with our support, and then ultimately they're having their students create a social impact not advertisement, but animation at the end that they're going to be able to submit as part of a contest. And yes, these are all free. Just about everything, everything really that we have to offer is free in terms of resources. We really want to support people in learning these tools. And in our case, like when I can work with a school district, I can provide training at no cost as well. So there are a lot of options, opportunities there as well. Generally, it's great when I find a school district that's truly committed to adopting these tools and will come out and work with teachers on professional development days and that sort of things. And then another course that just came out is called Virtual Beauty Training, Diverse and Authentic Character Design. And this was done with Dove, the Dove soap company. And, they were really wanted to address the issues around characters in games and things. So there are a number of characters that were created that, kind of diversify the types of characters that we're seeing, but also they teach kids how to use MetaHuman Creator, where you can make your own virtual, digital humans that you could then bring into games and stuff. And that's one of our few tools that's actually web-based. Most of our tools do require, the hardware that can run them. And just because this one's so awesome, I'll show. Oh no, I won't show the video because of the sound. But you'll look it up at some point. It's a great video. I will share those resources, and I'd also like to let me just breeze through here a little and see what we have a robotics learning kit that's fantastic. I'll show you that. We actually also, if you're around this Tuesday we're super excited about our Unreal Engine Rube Goldberg learning kit. We have a great relationship with the Rube Goldberg Institute, and we've created a full-on learning kit with Rube Goldberg assets like simple machines and all these great things, so kids could learn to make Rube Goldberg machines in Unreal Engine, whether or not they understand really or know Unreal Engine, because all of the assets are there for them to use. But then they also, through our 6 lesson plans that come with it, learn some cool things about using Unreal Engine. So like with the Rube Goldberg, one of the activities, they're learning to use a ramp or an inclined plane to guide something into a bucket. But then they learn that when it does successfully go in the bucket, they learn particle effects and how to make a cool celebratory, kind of confetti-like explosion type thing. So a lot of really neat stuff. And that one, Tuesday night, we have a special, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We're doing a walkthrough of that kit through our Discord channel, which I'll share in a minute as well. And our robotic stuff is super cool as well. So, and then we have other interdisciplinary lesson plans. So what I want to do now, there's about 10 minutes left. Want to make sure we have time for things, but I do want to just show you, I think I'm still sharing screen, right? So I want to show you so when I go back to this is our developer community. I'll go back to the learn area. So this link I'm going to drop in for you. And actually, I'll drop in another link as well. So this gets you to everything in terms of this. And then there's the for educators and for beginners, but for educators page, which I'll drop in here for you, that has the direct links to all of those courses we just talked about. So here's the Unreal Futures Careers in Fashion. Here's that robotics learning kit. Here is the virtual beauty course. Here's the Unreal Futures Careers in Animation. And there should be the advertising one somewhere in here. And here's the Unreal Futures Careers in Advertising. So everything is there for you to find fairly easily. But with that, let me stop talking and see if there are any other questions. And yeah, and I'd love for people to come off of mute. This would be a great time to actually hear other human beings talk and maybe see some of you and such. So thanks for all your attention and the nice notes that came up in the chat. It sounds like we are reasonably excited about some of these offerings.
I do have a question.
Sure.
I am interested in design. However, I'm more interested in just like maybe a few people on the chat when it comes to writing. I am not familiar with the kind of how you call it, programs that you may need to actually help with, writing a story for a game. So how does Unreal Engine touch upon that subject, or which other like tools would we need for that kind of thing?
You're saying for the storytelling part, by itself,
Yeah,
and
for like
yeah,
content design.
yeah, good question. You know, it's interesting. When I was in the classroom, one of the other tools that I used that I really liked for kids learning to write sort of narrative for games, there's something called Twine, which is a fairly easy to use program where kids make their own choose your own adventure type games. Um, the nice thing there is they're building it out in like a web diagram type thing. So it's really more about the writing than it is about working in something like Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine is a 3D creation tool. So realistically, at least that's sort of its intent, and it could definitely be used for storytelling is an important part of everything there, whether it be creating a short film or a game. But I'm not sure that it's you might want to look for other resources for the storytelling part if that's what you're teaching. Oh, and somebody had actually asked directly, but yeah, I'll share it publicly. Here's my email address. Let's see. Yeah, my my job is honestly about trying to support teachers however I can. So you are welcome to reach out to me. I'm also active on Twitter and LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it's Steve-Isaacs. I could find the exact link, but that seems to be how it comes up. But yeah, please, by all means, reach out to me. And happy to respond or connect however makes the most sense.
Is my audio okay?
Yes.
So I'm a high school student and I'm trying to learn how to get started with coding and creating. I was wondering if you have any recommendations on creating an original game, animation, graphics, and like how realistic that is as a beginner, how long it takes to get into it.
Yeah, so that's why, like I say, the things that I showed you today, that 5-lesson course to get started in making a game, I think gives you a good overview of what it's like to be in the Unreal Engine environment and actually create something that you could be like, wow, look what I did, I created that, and that's what I had my students starting with if they wanted to use Unreal Engine. I used a lot of tools. Like I had my kids use like Minecraft and Fortnite Creative and something called Game Maker Studio, and a lot of times it became a matter of them finding, what tools seemed to work best for them. But then in my class, when I was teaching, we also focused a lot on things like writing a design document and, kind of coming up with your overall game idea, the storyline, character descriptions, the, storyboarding the levels and things. So, I mean, there's definitely, I think that the hour of code activity for that is quite good. If you want to start playing around in Fortnite Creative for creating games, because it's in some ways easier to use some of the devices there, we have a series of lessons for that also. So there's a lot. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities there. And I'm so glad that you're on this. And I hope that what you saw today gives you a little bit of an idea that you can get started on your own. That was like these resources. I mean, you as a high school student going through them on your own are going to have a much easier time than all of the teachers that are on this call with us going through them themselves. I can almost guarantee that. Ooh, so what sort of opportunities are there for educators who would create content for other teachers, sort of what you do? That's a great question. So now that we have this developer hub that I showed you, I'm going to share the screen again to show you what some teachers have done here. So in here, now that we have this for educator section, I can tag things that teachers submit. So this is a great example, Daniel Rollo. He's I'll bring you to his page. So this is his page on our developer community. And when you go to the learning area for his page, these are 4 lesson plans that he contributed to our community. We're really trying to grow this. And, here he has his whole, he has a video that I'll just play it because don't worry about the sound. But this is his students creating the task was to create an esports arena, prototype in Unreal Engine. And this is what his students came up with. And then he shared this as well as the full lesson plan. What I will also drop in is our Discord community, which is where, is a great place for educators to connect and all of that. And in fact, I'll go one step further and share with you right from our Discord, because as I mentioned, I'm so excited about it. A link to the event I was talking about on Tuesday about the our Rube Goldberg kit. So this would both get you into our community and also allow you to express interest in participating, which would get you hopefully a notification to remind you when that event is, because the actual call will be on Zoom, but the information will be right on our Discord. So I would love more than anything for any of you to start contributing, developing content and sharing it with our community. It helps everybody, obviously. And we also, we have a number of trainings, some that we've done actually with the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Workforce Initiative last year in LA, where we did our Unreal Educator Accelerator. And if you'll be at the Arts, Media, the AME Institute this summer, we'll be there doing a few things. And over the summer, we have an intensive 5-day training in our Unreal Educator Accelerator as well. Oh, thank you for sharing those resources. That's awesome. Any last questions? I know we're kind of close to out of time, or really close to out of time, but happy to answer any. All right. Well, I hope the BRIC Summit has been fantastic, and that the rest of, I don't even know how much is left of today, but hope it continues to be great. And I'm a big fan of the work of the BRIC Foundation and all the things that we've been able to do together. So, don't hesitate to reach out directly to me. What resources did you use first on your journey? Is that to modeling and coding? So these resources, we created specifically for that reason of being those first resources. So a lot of what I showed you today are just that. We've been doing a little bit with photogrammetry. So when it comes into modeling, not necessarily creating your own models from scratch, but digitizing 3D objects. For that, I've been using two tools. One is called Polycam, and one is called Reality Scan, which is one of our products. Both of those are on your phone and allow you to digitally scan 3D objects and then bring them into many, many different environments. So that's a great thing to get started with on that side. Ooh, Netflix. Careers in games. All right, you guys have some great stuff coming up. How late does it go today?
Today I'm trying to convert in my head because I'm over on the East Coast.
Oh, so am I.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pacific time it goes until 4:45.
Gotcha.
At 4 Pacific time there is a AMA both for students or like people breaking into certain industries and for educators.
Oh, cool. Very cool. I'm going to drop also somebody asked about my LinkedIn. I'll drop that right in the chat. Definitely welcome to reach out to me there. And I had also given my email. I'll drop it in again. Yeah, please do connect. And thank you all. This was great. It was a pleasure to be with y'all. And I might try to stick around for some of it. I have to find those links again now.
Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.